about love, something about us. When it is we dance, when it is we don't love us. It in the be like highway.
All right. Things is being wonky. When that video starts, when it feels like it, I guess.
Boat strike that killed survivors of an initial strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean.
Over the weekend, President Trump suggested further strikes on land as well. NBC's Ryan Nobles has the story from Washington.
As President Trump ratchets up pressure and strikes on alleged drug boats and traffickers on the sea,
we're going to start that same process on land because we know every route, we know every house, we know where they live.
These narco-terrorists are the al-Qaeda of our hemisphere.
NBC News is learning more about what Admiral Frank Bradley told lawmakers last week in classified briefings about the double tap on a boat near Venezuela in September. Sources say Bradley said U.S. intelligence identified everyone on board as narco-terrorists, and Defense Secretary Hegseth made the order to target and kill all on board. Bradley said the first strike ripped the boat apart, according to sources, but 2 men survived and were later seen waving their arms. But it's not clear what they were trying to do. That's when Bradley consulted with a military lawyer and ordered the second strike, killing the men and sinking the boat.
From what I understood then and what I understand now, I fully support that strike. I would have made the same call myself.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are pushing for the administration to release the full video of the strike, and those who have seen it came away with 2 very different opinions.
So I personally don't have any problem with it. Yeah, it's not gruesome. I didn't find it distressing or disturbing. It looks like any number of the dozens of strikes we've seen on Jeeps and pickup trucks in the Middle East over the years.
They ought to release the video. If they release the video, then everything that the Republicans are saying will clearly be portrayed to be completely false. And people will get a look at it and they will see.
Bradley also told lawmakers the boat was not headed to the U.S. It was going from Venezuela to another South American country, Suriname. Bradley told lawmakers that the drugs on the boat were headed for either Europe or Africa. President Trump has signaled that he'd be willing to release the entire video of the strike, but over the weekend, Secretary Hegseth refused to commit.
Jesus Christ, like this is just like a debacle in so many ways. Oh wait, I can't hear you.
I wasn't saying anything. I was just laughing. This
is crazy.
I'll let you finish, but yeah, I'm a nervous laugher. So when there's something that's uncomfortable for me, I just have to laugh. And like I've been doing this a lot since the start of the second Trump administration. But you can finish up, and then I'll give my thoughts on all this.
Yeah, we're here with Zach Does Politics. Check him out on YouTube. Really a lot of good content. I like his perspective, so I had to get this guy on. And so check him out on YouTube. Zach Does Politics. Zach, the investigations, like they're like, oh, we identified everyone as narcos. Okay, when you do that, usually it is thorough for journalists. We can name them and give an actual repertoire on who's on those boats. They gave no actual, like, no insight on who's on that boat. So I don't even believe them. And then the whole fact of them, oh, they was waving their hands and we don't know what that meant. What do you think it means when you're waving your hands after you just got bombed? You're surrendering, right? Like It makes no sense. It's they lost so much with the propaganda. I do like that the journalist mentioned that they were heading to another country in Latin America, not heading to where the Trump administration. I give them that, but it all sounded like state media just to begin with. Just straight
It
up.
is. It definitely is. Whenever there's anything even tangentially related to foreign policy, basically everybody within the federal government and all of the media companies are all aligned. They're cheering on violence. They profit off of death and destruction. I watched a video on CNN on Sunday, I think it was, for my most recent episode, and they were debating the legality of this because according to international law, if I remember this correctly, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just going to preface that a double tap strike is illegal during war, but illegal not during war. This is interesting because you have the Department of Justice saying that the United States is not at war, which is what they have to say, obviously, because you're supposed to get congressional approval to do things like this, which hasn't been done probably since like 1941, World War II.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have Pete Hegseth, who's saying that we are at war with these narco terrorists. So they're debating that. And all I can think about is it's murder regardless. You're still killing these most likely innocent people. Like if they had evidence that these people were narco terrorists, they would present it. I understand that everyone in this administration is just they're the most incompetent person possible, but even like the dumbest person who is aware of the law would think that just for self-preservation purposes, let me present this evidence that these people are actual criminals who are endangering us in the United States. Like the whole situation is just so messed up, the blatant disregard for these Venezuelans and their humanity. It's just like, yeah, it makes me sick that the media is basically complicit in this.
And the come on, like due process, like investigations, like he don't even want to do due process here with ICE and shit like that. So of course I should not be when I'm saying he, because we're talking about Hegseth, I mean Donald Trump. I should not be surprised that this administration is just doing everything they want. And he mentioned before, oh, we have a lot of lawyers and we want to make sure that everything we do is legal by the law and all this stuff like that. Like this guy is just he just wants to be a cowboy at this point. A cowboy for the rich. I
think when we look back on Trump too, one of the things that's going to stand out, at least in regards to foreign policy, is that he's just doing all of the things that every president before him has done for the last 60 years out in the open. And that's why the media in particular and a lot of like the establishment Democrats in Congress are upset with Trump isn't what he's doing. And even a lot of the Republicans also, like even the more non-MAGA Republicans like Rand Paul, they're mad at him not for what he's doing, but that he's publicizing it. And that's another massive criticism I have of this, because I'm opposed to, the death and destruction of people all across the world at the hands of the United States. That's, a non-negotiable for me. And I wish that there were prominent people in power, like the majority of prominent people in power who agreed with me on that.
Yeah. And not to mention that, like, the only reason why this is even being mentioned in the news was because of how crazy this assault was. They killed over 80 people already. I mean, hell, last 2 days ago, they already killed somebody else on the boat. You know what I mean? And they're putting they have these people in Colombia, Venezuela that are now part of the family members that of these people that were slain by those attacks, and they're suing. There's some people suing, and you got the president of Colombia Also suing as well too. Gustavo Petro, who one of his lawyers is actually a friend of the show, who's been on the show, Dan Kovalik. Shouts out to Dan Kovalik. So they're trying the legal way, and that's all you can with the U.S. You can try your hardest the legal way, but the U.S. loves to bring up this international law nonsense, and they don't abide by it at all. Like, I just hate when they bring it up because it's like it doesn't matter to you. So why are you even like trying to use it for the other side?
Yeah,
It does not matter to you.
they're trying to maintain that veneer of credibility that they worked so hard to cultivate in the aftermath of World War II. And in quite literally 11 months, less than that actually, like the first 6 months of the Trump administration, he demolished that. There's no longer any plausible deniability that the United States is doing good overseas. A lot of that was through US aid, which of course I was
Right.
critical of its dismantling. Like obviously I'm cynical. I understand why US aid exists as a form of soft power in developing countries, but ultimately there were people in that organization who were doing good things, whether that be helping fight
Right.
disease outbreaks in Africa, whether that be natural disaster assistance in South Asia when
Mm,
they get hit with typhoons and everything. But now all of that's just gone, and basically Donald Trump's foreign policy is like, we're just gonna blow everybody up
right.
because we can.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
extra funny about this situation is they keep bringing up fentanyl, fentanyl, fentanyl. Fentanyl doesn't come from South America, and if it
Right.
does, it comes in very small quantities. I think most of the fentanyl comes from China, but even still, regardless of if I'm wrong on those numbers, 80 to 90% of fentanyl that gets trafficked into the United States comes in through natural born US citizens. So there's
Right.
nothing of this that lines up at all.
I mean, Claudia Scheinbaum even said herself in the call with Donald Trump a few months, like not a few months ago. I think like half of the year ago. I believe I saw that report where she said literally 80% of traffickers
Hmm.
are in America. So this whole idea that it's all just the Latin American countries is all just whoever we choose to be when we back narco state dictators all the time. I mean, one former one we just released from who was a Honduran president, Honduran dictator, because that was a coup as well too, U.S. back coup. Um, it's just freaking mind boggling. Just how much they are trying to stand on this lie, knowing it's bullshit. It's like they're not really good at with the propaganda like the Democrats. Democrats are snakes. They are deceiving when it comes to their propaganda. These guys, they haven't even learned how to do that.
No, like they
Everything's
haven't.
absurd.
If the Republican Party does not have a Barack Obama type figure in the sense that this dude committed untold atrocities in the Middle East, and it's just seldom talked about amongst the general public, which I think is
Right.
really staggering. And even Joe Biden as well got, you know, was shielded from that. But what's like, I don't understand why the Republican Party is choosing to die on this hill and make all of this so public because this isn't even a thing that Americans give a shit about, especially at a time when everything is unaffordable. You know, the price of pasta is up like 33% because of Trump's tariffs. That is an issue that has affected me personally as a pasta lover. Like
Right.
energy is out of control. Gas prices only just now fell under $3 a gallon, and he's putting out these videos that look like a Call of Duty kill streak, just vaporizing these
Yeah.
people as you're playing right here on screen. And I'm like, dude, no one like this is not a winning issue for anybody, especially even like the veterans who vote for the Republican Party because they don't want their sons and daughters going to fight this war, much like I don't want their sons and daughters going to fight this war on Venezuela just so we can, have however many more millions of barrels of oil that ExxonMobil can sell to Europe and Asia.
Right, right. And it's just really ridiculous. Like how hard they create a name and all this stuff. And I'm just like, dude, like you are literally backing. I want people to understand, people are listening, while they're talking about this, our government is still backing that butcher in Peru, Dina, that butcher in Peru. We're backing Malay with his crazy nonsense. The man's always doing something. And like they gave him so much. We're backing all these corrupt individuals that are part of these countries, these politicians, and now we just want to go all the way after Venezuela and Colombia used to be a narco state, and now it's not. Colombia actually, the president talked about how they're destroying every single cocaine lab, every lab they can find that the cartel held. You know what I mean? Like they're putting in these efforts, but they're the villains, and the real freaking traffickers, they don't even talk about them. And like this is why we have to continue to talk about his hypocrisy, because it's really, really just so crazy, blatantly crazy when you think about it and you look at the history. And I think people know this, which is why people that don't fully understand it, they haven't read into it, looked into it, but they have an idea more, which is why they're not fully buying the story. Because I think we understand that that's not true, and I hope that's what it is. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that foreign policy is more difficult to understand than domestic policy for people who are either apolitical, like normal people. I would say people who aren't involved in politics, don't study it, aren't, up to date on everything, because foreign policy is very complex. Even someone like myself, I've been, involved in politics for like 8 years casually, 4 years a little bit more intensely, and I still don't understand a lot of the dynamics, in like the Middle East, in South America, in Africa. I'm just not well read on it, but I do know, in having read a couple books, that if the United States, as you said, is backing your government might not be the best, or best is obviously a subjective term. Maybe I guess like moral to a degree, give or take. But before I forget this thought, I do think it's ironic that Pete Hegseth called these Venezuelans the Al Qaeda of our hemisphere. Meanwhile, the new president or prime minister of Syria is he's a former member of Al Qaeda, and they're
Yeah,
buddy buddy with Donald Trump. It's
yeah,
it's going to be a lot easier to understand foreign policy after these 4 years, because they're just like they're putting it all they're just they're putting it all out there. They're saying straight up,
yeah,
and Donald Trump is also, it's known that he enjoys strong men, authoritarian men, people that he feels as strong leaders, Viktor Orban, Vladimir Putin. Like that much is known, but especially with someone like Putin, he's very obviously a nefarious actor. It's all of the smaller countries that aren't global superpowers or even regional superpowers that takes a little bit more understanding.
yeah, yeah. And with the Sahel region, with Benin right now, there was a failed coup. Nigeria is some house Negroes. They helped France out to bomb certain tactical areas. Thank you, Nigeria. Thank you so much. But I feel that Nigeria did that because Trump was threatening Nigeria, and I haven't heard any Nigerian rhetoric out of Trump's mouth since. He's been focusing on the Somalis. Um, you learned it for a policy for people that are listening. a lot of things connect with U.S. imperialism. We spend a lot of money, trillions of dollars in the military, 900 bases around the world. You bet your ass that we are everywhere we can be, everywhere, until we can not do it no more, like how the British. That's what I think the collapse will be. We'll just lose influence like the British did, and there'll be another great powers coming around. I don't think we're going to collapse. We'll still be around, but we'll just not become as significant as we are anymore. And I don't know how that would look, honestly, but it's coming. We're in total chaos. The fact that they're able to have an Al Qaeda leader supposedly legitimized in their eyes, the empire is failing.
It's so cooked.
We're like, it's over. We're GG.
Yeah, it's cooked. And it's cooked in like the saddest way possible. It's not like Donald Trump is this extraordinary supervillain who concocted this incredible plan to take over the world. He's just a dumbass who lucked into power.
Right.
He would. The only reason he ran for president was so that he didn't go to jail. Like, that's it.
That's crazy too, and he won.
The best thing that someone could do if they wanted to learn about foreign policy, like current day foreign policy, believe it or not, is to go and look at like post World War II history, especially with not just the United States and the English, but the French as well, because French colonization in Africa is probably one of, if not the biggest reason why there are so many destabilized African countries. There's numerous countries who gained independence since I've been born, and I'm 29 years old. I'm not a particularly old person. Like Sudan in 2011, I believe, although I can't recall if that's from France or not. But it's just like you have to understand the types of control that mostly Western liberal democracies have exerted on countries all across the world. These countries are unstable because there's a power vacuum, and there's a power vacuum between the Western aligned government and then like a paramilitary government who is at odds with the Western government, and there's not really any alternative for people because the colonial power has gone out of their way to make sure that any peaceful resistance has been exterminated. This is most notable in Palestine. Of course, the reason why Hamas is in power is entirely intentional. Israel, whether they killed off or disappeared members of the PLO, for example, allowed Hamas to rise to power, and then they can point to Hamas and be like, oh, this is a terrorist organization. Right. Like, we have to be in here. And yeah, I understand that Hamas they don't have the cleanest domestic policy record, I'll say that, but they're not terrorists any more than Israel is terrorist, especially not since the genocide began, because even if you look at October 7th and you say, it's a war crime, it was a tragedy, whatever you say, it didn't just happen in isolation. Like Hamas didn't just wake up on October 7th and say, you know what, we're going to murder 1,200 people. It's 60 to 80 years of oppression leading up to that. And that is true everywhere historically, even in the United States. Why did we fight for independence? Because we were tired of the oppressive British government.
Yeah. And there was always race riots 24/7. The same way how they treat the West Bank, same way how they treat Gaza whenever one of their people get killed. They just torch the earth. Now they're bombing tents. And this only exists solely because of the United States' existence. If the United States isn't around right now, Israel wouldn't be as powerful as it was. Since 1967, we front the bill for these guys. And they know that they need us. That's why they got to buy all our media up with Zionist loyalties. They fired the most Zionist motherfuckers with money to buy up all the media they can. And they don't want to lose a narrative. They don't want to end up like what happened in South Africa. I could see that they are literally scared, and the fact that they are so brutal in their ways, they have exploded every opportunity. I think for a lifetime with this, it's over at this point. People are looking at people weird that still are loyal to Israel at this point.
No, I agree. I agree. Like sometimes just, in my personal life, I'll be on Instagram and people, not that like I have a lot of people who are, not that I have a lot of friends who are outwardly political, but
Mhm.
people will post like this, that, or whatever about Israel. And I can't help but think that you're on the wrong side of history. The book has been written already. In 10,
Yeah.
20 years, if if history textbooks are still being written and they choose to cover the genocide in Gaza, it will very clearly say that it's a genocide, even regardless of all of the video evidence and all of the journalism that's been done, like all of the human rights organizations that have said that. I mean, like videos of children being murdered, the infrastructure being eradicated. It's if Israel didn't want to wind up like South Africa, the easiest thing they could do is just stop the genocide. But obviously, that's at odds with the whole greater Israel project. So that's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had Hillary Clinton saying, "Oh, it's not real. TikTok is, the problem and all this stuff." Like, it's just we're seeing all the Zionists showing their Nazi personas at this point.
Yeah.
Everyone is being exposed at this point. And I'm here for it, baby. Speaking of Palestine, please, guys, as you know, I always do this every show. Please subscribe, not subscribe. Please follow Pal Crisis Relief, which is a Palestinian-based organization in Gaza that helps displaced families, providing them with tents, essential goods to sleep, um, whatever they need, whatever they can get to help these families. Jabari Media has been a proud supporter of Pal Relief Crisis. They have surpassed their goal over 100,000 and that helped over 80,000 families so far and counting. So please go right on over to IG Power Release Crisis. They have a GoFundMe link also in that description of their IG. So please do what you can. People always ask, "What can I do? What can I do?" This is one thing that you can do. You know what I mean? So please go help Power Crisis Relief. Okay. So we are seeing a lot going on with ICE. Zach, this is one of the last talking points for today. There was a huge riot in New York in Chinatown. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
And then also there was there's a huge push, as we also mentioned, about what happened with Donald Trump focusing down on Somalia. I gotta tell you, it's a new black or brown community every single week with this guy.
Yeah. I don't know how he decides who he's gonna I don't know how he decides who he's gonna hate on because Somalis weren't even directly in the news from what I
Right.
remember seeing. The last piece of Minnesota news that I saw was centered on it was the utility companies being bought up by a private firm that may or may not have been associated with BlackRock. I don't quite recall
Right.
the specifics and how Tim
Fucking
Walz
BlackRock.
allowed it to happen, basically. But other than that, like you could only the only way you know that there's a large Somali population in Minneapolis is if somebody tells you.
Wow.
Because I,
Word of mouth.
yeah, they were talking about Jacob Frey going to Little Mogadishu, and I was like, is that actually like a part of Minneapolis? Because at least for me, whenever I envision like a major city in the United States, I don't associate it with any one particular group of people just because of how diverse the country is in and of itself. So yeah, it's just
Right.
really weird to hyperfixate on a group of people for no reason. But then again, like this is the same party who said that Haitians were eating cats and dogs,
Yeah.
which was demonstrably untrue. And even the
Right.
people who lived in Springfield, Ohio were like, can you not do this? Like, these people are revitalizing the community. These Haitian immigrants are opening up businesses. They're buying homes that were previously dilapidated and renovating them. They're paying taxes within the economy. They're spending money within the economy. There's no reason to do this. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just gross, really.
Yeah. It leaves you. It honestly leaves you speechless.
Mhm.
And I think the only reason why I saw some right wingers, some weird right wingers that were like, "Hey, this is fraud that's going on in Minnesota," and they're solely blaming it on the Somalis, because Daddy Trump said it was the Somalis, so they got to listen to Daddy Trump. Daddy Trump knows.
You're muted, by the way.
Okay, there we go. I hit my wire again,
Nah,
flimsy
you're
wire. Um, But yeah, you see, like I believe the fraud was with let's see what the article says actually before I say something incorrect, because I actually check before, and unlike our government, um, yeah, this whole thing about money being funneled to terrorist organizations, um, they want to it looks like that they're trying to build a huge corruption propaganda um towards Somali people because of Ilhan Omar. um that's what I'm seeing here. They're trying to just build some fake narrative. Even the governor said that Somalis had nothing to do with the corruption that's going on. And he got ate out for that. To what's his name, Waltz. He got ate out for that. So who's going to be next week? That's just my question. Who's next in the hazing? And it's not even something I like. I laugh when I hear about stuff like this because it just helps me get over the trauma of understanding how fucked the world is. But like, it's really really upsetting. Like, 58% of Somalis are born here. They're American citizens. So you're literally just targeting community, saying false things about them, and they have no choice but to defend themselves now. It's not the violence. It's going to be just
Yeah.
violence
Mhm.
until ICE moves on to somebody else. And who's next? Because you're already trying to deport Native Americans. You're already trying to deport people in courthouses that are supposed to be in courthouses so they can try to get their green card. It's like, oh, you interrupting my process to be a citizen, to do the correct thing. it's
Which is illegal, by the way. They're not allowed to
right.
be there. Yeah, ICE is not allowed to be there. ICE isn't allowed to be at hospitals. I don't think either, and yet they were there.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Grab a guy off the table with surgery? Like,
I mean, at this point, yeah, that's what I would not put it past them.
it's just it's really really ill. That's why I wanted the final question for this is like, do you feel that we are officially with the parallels with the Sustafo SS with KKK because they cover their faces just like the fucking KKK. Like, are we we're fascists at this point? Like, we are in fascist America.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Even you could even make the argument that we were a little fascist before this when you take into account the United States treatment of the LGBTQ plus community, the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Migrants have been treated like this forever, basically, like historically as well. But at least in with recent presidencies, like Joe Biden, for example, yeah, he was still deporting mad people, but they kept up that veneer of credibility with things like the CBP One app, which allowed immigrants to set their court date ahead of time to meet with the judge. This is all entirely mask off. Like, yes, this is very much Nazi Germany. It's to a point where I get nervous if I don't hear from some of my friends for a few days because did they get grabbed? Like ICE is doing raids here on Long Island in neighborhoods that are overwhelmingly Hispanic, and all of my Hispanic friends, regardless of what their citizenship is or not, live in these communities. And I legitimately fear for them. Like, same thing with the people that live in my town and in my community. Like, we are there. And I think the only reason that people don't like the only reason that this isn't a consensus is because I don't think people really understand what the Holocaust entailed. Because
Right.
when you think of the Holocaust, you obviously think of the systemic extermination of 6 million Jews, 11 million people in total, whether that be on their sexual orientation, their political ideology. But again, the Holocaust didn't just happen. It had 6 years of buildup, starting when Hitler came to office in 1933. I mean, the simple fact that the sitting president of the United States and those around him are blaming at any time one specific group of people for economic downturn is literally ripped from the Hitler playbook. Hitler
Yeah.
rose to power by saying that the Jews are the reason that the economy is bad, which ironically enough, the economy was bad because of the Great Depression here
Right.
in the United States. But that is like Hitlerian rhetoric. And I don't say that to be hyperbolic. I'm just saying this as a historic fact. Like, that in and of itself is very off-putting to people. Like, if you have a conversation with a normie and you bring up that Trump is acting like Hitler, they will automatically almost like shut off because Hitler was such an evil person that you don't think anyone else could ever reach those levels. But Donald Trump and the modern day Republican Party are definitely on that path. And let's not get it twisted. This is the United States of America, where one of the two universally accepted atrocities of the world occurred, and that being chattel slavery. Like, most people, if you ask them, is the Holocaust bad and is slavery bad, they will say yes. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally believe that we are like ICE is the Gestapo, Trump is Fat Hitler, and we are on the path for just absolute like destruction. The only saving grace, the only silver lining that I look for is that the Trump administration is too fucking stupid to actually be able to implement this agenda. And I'm not saying that as just like, I mean that in terms of actual incompetence,
Right.
because literally everyone in Trump 2 is brain dead.
Yeah, they're all egomaniacs. They're all egomaniacs.
And
I
there's
mean,
also
like,
more and more reporting coming out about him potentially moving on from cabinet picks like Kash Patel last week. MSNBC talked about it. There was a report that I read in Mediaite. I don't remember what the original source was, but there were two former DHS officials who were saying that Trump is displeased with Kristi Noem. You, of course, have the infinite incompetence of Pete
I
Hegseth
heard about that. Yep.
earlier, who is quite actually like the dumbest person in the Trump administration. Like, that is the only thing
He's a frat boy.
He's just, dude, the thing that I don't understand about how people like him is how can you like someone whose own mother has said he's a scumbag? That's your mom. Your mom will ride for you until you die unless you're like a rapist or a murderer, right? You have to be an actually despicable human being for your mom to be like, maybe my son's an asshole. Well, I mean, Pete Hegseth is, he has been credibly accused of sexual assault, which would fall under that category in my
Of
estimation. But
course.
his mom, like his own mom.
Yeah. 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 We have a bunch of goofballs. And it's like every single woman in there is blonde. It's crazy. Except for Christy Dome.
And
Every single woman.
they all got mad plastic surgery too. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is like if you want to get work done, that's up to you. But Christy Nome and Laura Loomer, like, it's too much. And at a
Too
certain
much.
point, how much of all of that plastic is starting to seep into your brain?
Yeah. And the other part is that like they also were beauty pageant contenders that have won and stuff like that in the past. So I'm just like, did he just hire everybody that was in the beauty pageant throughout the years? I'm like, what are they real? I know Christy No once was a governor and stuff like that. Peabody, clearly she went to law school or stuff like that. But it's like,
Yeah, maybe like DeVry University Law School, but
yeah, it's an interesting cabinet that he has, man. It's very interesting. And the crazy part about this, in closing, it's only been a year, guys.
yeah, not even. Not even. We still got all of December and 75% of January.
Jesus, like, what's going to happen in the next 3? Well, we're going to find out if you watch this show and you watch Zach Does Politics. We'll let you know.
I'll be on it. The one thing that I've been doing to help keep myself sane is I've been watching a lot of Harry Enton because he's been talking a lot more about Trump's approval because Trump's approval is trash, obviously. But
Yeah.
like not only is it Trump's disapproval super high, his disapproval on like virtually every policy agenda is also super high, except for I think immigration. That's one that's still like 50-50. But the economy is trash, and the polling shows that. Now, obviously, you can't rely on polls, especially if you don't know any of the, especially if you don't know the sample size, the representation. But I do hold a glimmer of hope that 2026 brings a blue wave for lack of a better term. And I'm optimistic about that, not only from this most recent election day with the governor races in New Jersey and Virginia, of course, Zoran winning as well, but I don't believe that New York City is reflective of the country as a whole. I think Virginia, especially with how much they like to flip flop, definitely is more of like the median voter state. But people are straight up just done with the Republican Party. I think it boils down to that simple fact. It remains to be seen if it shows in 2025, in what's next year, 2026. Oh my God, I'm old. But
Yeah.
I'm optimistic about that as I close out this tangent because Harry Enton, when he was talking about the Tennessee special election, I think this in the 7th district, where the Democrat lost, but only by like 7 points in the same district that Trump won by 22, he mentioned that special elections are more reflective of midterm races than anything else. I am paraphrasing here, but that election in particular was noteworthy because it had the same turnout as the most recent midterms, whenever those were, 2022, 2023, I can't remember, but it was a staggering turnout. And he closed by saying that if that were to play out in 2026, the Democratic Party would win upwards of 40 seats in the House. They would capture 10% of the House of Representatives. So that would put them at 257 or something. So it would be like 257 to like 100 and I don't know, 80 or something, whatever the math is. But it would be staggering. Now, of course, who knows what that Democratic Party looks like? My fear is always they're just going to trot out a bunch of Raytheon liberals, some do-nothing Democrats. But I do believe there is a wide open lane for progressive Democrats to really assert themselves in local elections, influenced not only by the victory of Zoran in this most recent election, but also benefiting from all of the groundwork that has been laid by Bernie Sanders and making like a progressive agenda not only mainstream but popular. I mean, it's very simple. If you go to somebody and you tell them that you want to make their healthcare cheaper, you want to pay them more money, you want to give them more time off that they can spend with their family, they would be stupid not to vote for that.
Right.
Straight up. And the polling reflects that. Like all of those things that I listed are overwhelmingly favorable. Like I'm talking 60, 70, 75% in terms of Medicare for all. Like that is a winning policy. And of course, the flip side of that coin is that any Democrat who chooses not to run on that is also stupid, because you are snatching defeat from the jaws of victory by ignoring a progressive agenda. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't
and it's
matter
very popular.
Zoran in New York City, or if you're running in rural Kentucky, this type of agenda is palatable.
Yeah, yeah, and it shows it wins. That's why we always like the only people that are supporting Donald Trump at this point are people that are just supporters in the MAGA cult. They are the MAGA cult. They're not going to change their ways on it. They usually stay online to talk shit, and then they have their little AI puppets or whatever type of technology is used to stir the pot. But majority of the people don't think like that. Majority of the people do not support Donald Trump. It shows. They have lost the argument. The argument was so big and fruitful to them apparently when he won, and they're like, "Oh, America's back, baby!" But now they have no confidence, and they know they have no confidence. And so many people that don't pay attention. I mean, you got MTG. Lastly, to say that she was sitting here acting like she wants to fight for whatever the agenda she wanted to fight for. Then as soon as Daddy Trump started talking junk about her, she said, "I'm going to go home with my kids." So you stood for nothing.
Yeah, you're a coward.
You stood for nothing to begin with.
Yeah. Well, she's caked up because of all of her insider trading too. So it's not like she's doing it for the paycheck.
Right.
Who was was it? Fuck, what's his name? I don't want to say John Thune, the senator from North Carolina, who said that he's not going to run for re-election because Donald Trump said something mean about him. That's not Roy Cooper. Roy Cooper's the governor, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's escaping me, but there's the Republican senator from North Carolina was gonna run for re-election, and then Donald Trump was like, "I'm going to primary whoever wants to run against whatever the fuck his name is," and he's like, "You know what? I think it's time to retire and just go like live on my farm." I'm like, dude, I don't.
You stand for nothing.
Yeah, like it's a defeatist mentality, and it's not even like I don't want these people in Congress anyway, right? I'm diametrically opposed to everything that they stand for, but it's just the principle of the situation. Like if I gave up or if you gave up because someone said something mean to us, I would have given up after my first YouTube video. That's But when you're someone who doesn't have a belief system, you don't have a coherent ideology, when you're someone who is really just out of touch, I think that's what it boils down to. When you're out of touch, you don't like care about any of that. And the whole like family part is extra funny to me for Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's like 50. She's too young to be retiring. And I'm not saying that 50 is too young to retire for a normal person. Like if you're able to retire at 50, good for you. Like if you're a firefighter
good for you.
or like, you know, you're a dock worker, a longshoreman, and you can collect a pension after 25, 30 years, take it. But that is because being a firefighter or being a longshoreman is infinitely harder than working in government. And it's infinitely harder than working in government when you're Marjorie Taylor Greene and literally have not done anything in the time that you're in Congress. Like her only legislative accomplishment was introducing articles of impeachment against Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I'm lying actually. Her most noble thing was sticking up for all of the Epstein victims.
Yes. Yes, we will bring that up. Yep.
Them in the face too. Because
you would think she will stay for them.
Yeah, she retired, and then inevitably in 2 years, when Donald Trump is like, nobody remembers Jeffrey Epstein, the victims are gonna be like, well, what the fuck? All you people, like, you all retired. And,
yeah.
I don't know.
Stand for nothing.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I can't, I find myself having this monologue with myself, and I'm sure you experience this too as a content creator, especially talking about politics. You try to intellectualize certain things, you try to like present an argument on certain topics, but at the end of the day, you know why this stuff is happening. Like you understand that a lot of those in Washington D.C., a lot of elected officials in Washington D.C. like literally just do not give a fuck. They're running for public office to collect a paycheck, which is like, you have to have some level of mental illness to want to do this just to collect.
Nobody wants that job, man.
Dude, like, go be a lawyer. And a lot of them are trained lawyers. Like, you could make so more money as a lawyer for one of the big four accounting firms than you can as an elective representative. So like I ask myself all the time, like, why are they doing this? Like, what is going on? It's like I know the answer, but you do have to put on a little bit of a show.
Yeah,
for the
you got
the territory. Like
when you make Marco Rubio head of state, like this man has such a hard on for people that look like him. He never even been to Cuba ever, and his parents left before the revolution even happened there. He don't have an inkling what Cuba is about at all. And you bring this freaking this small man, little man, up on the biggest secretary job there is, where you can literally overthrow countries. Like, he needs to go. It's just, it's I wonder if we're gonna see all new faces next year. It just be Donald Trump and the whole team of new people.
I have a theory about 2028. I've been concocting this theory for a while, especially over like the last year. But so Donald Trump is not able to be president again. Obviously, we know that.
Obviously,
so he will effectively be done with electoral politics after 2028 if he doesn't, if he's still alive, because remember, he is 80. I'm not wishing anything upon anybody. I don't want the intelligence agencies, knocking my door down. I know I'm on the MPSM7 or whatever, but he's an old man. So even, if he wants to retire from electoral politics, whatever, there is going to be a massive reckoning within the Republican Party from top to bottom, not just with the elected officials, but also with the voting bloc. You're going to have some section of Trump voters who are just absolutely distraught that he can no longer be president, and who knows what that looks like. I don't want to say because it's a little gruesome. But then you have another section of the MAGA base that might realize that what they did was wrong and do this like hard right pivot to communism, anarchism, whatever the fuck. But I truly believe that the Republican Party is on the precipice of crumbling because they don't have a clear heir to Donald Trump. And I use a sports analogy. When you're drafting a franchise player, or when you're looking for a franchise player, there's a very specific type of player who can fit that mold, not just in terms of their skill, but also in terms of all of the intangibles, right? LeBron James is the perfect franchise player, not because he's extraordinarily talented, but because he is a literal superstar in every sense of the word. He's highly marketable. He's very charismatic. As the kids say, he's got a ton of aura. You could say the same thing about Wemby. You could say the same thing about Patrick Mahomes, Bryce Harper, whatever sport you follow, there's a parallel for that. The Republican Party does not have that. Donald Trump, very much like Barack Obama, like Bill Clinton, like Ronald Reagan, had all of the political acumen, but also the charisma. He's very telegenic. He knew what to say, when to say, and how to say it. The heir to the Republican Party right now is J.D. Vance, who has about as much charisma as a moldy banana. Marco Rubio's the same. No one's going to vote for Don Jr. because he's the junior. They're not going to want Diet Donald Trump.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party does not have this problem, and unfortunately, it's because Gavin Newsom exists, and I despise Gavin Newsom, but when discussing all of the things that I just rattled off, he encapsulates all of that. Like, he looks like he could be president as much as I wouldn't want him to be president. There's nothing of that sort for the Republican Party. So I don't even know what the Republican Party looks like in 2028. I don't think J.D. Vance has it. Marco Rubio doesn't have it. Who else would it be? Who else would it be?
Nah, I have no clue. I really have no clue. I know that, JD Vance, he's so into his agenda that he doesn't have the capacity to want to be a charismatic guy. He wants the agenda. So when something happens in his favor, he makes sure he gets that speech popping. He makes sure Charlie Kirk is served. All the babies. He makes sure all the Republican baby nonsense that they love to baby about is good. I agree. I haven't thought about it. You just opened my mind to something like that. They don't have no one. They're just going to go back to just being, oh, that's the uncle at the funeral that you only see once in a while because he's crazy. Like that's just.
I can't believe I'm gonna say what I'm about to say because I don't, I despise the Republican Party, but the Republican Party is gonna miss the days of like Ronald Reagan and Mitt Romney because they at least had electability, right? If you asked someone who they voted for and they said Mitt Romney, I was young when Romney was running for president. Like I was like, I don't know, 12 or something, so I had no idea what was going on. But I don't think it evoked the same disgust as Donald Trump. I mean, even John McCain, like horrible record, horrible person, but he at least had like, oh, he was a prisoner of war, he fought his country, this, that, whatever. Like there's just the Republican Party has been so co-opted by brain rot that they've forgotten how to behave like people.
Yeah.
Almost. It almost feels like if Rand Paul wanted to run for president in 2028, he could because he's a seemingly normal Republican. Like, he's the one Republican who once or twice a month he says something, and I'm like, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah, it's just but it's just the fall of the empire.
Mhm.
They have shown who they are. The Democrats and Republicans, they have shown who they are. If the Democrats wanted any chance of not being corporatives, they would allow Bernie Sanders to win, but they don't care. That's why Hakeem Jeffries just
Ultimately, it's all because of Citizens United. I like to do this thing where this is like the least intellectual thing that you could do, but it's like point to a single thing that is the cause of all of the ills of today. But conveniently, in American politics, you can do that, right? Because you can point to Ronald Reagan for all of the economic woes plaguing us today. You can
right.
point to the military-industrial complex to all of the ills that plague the world. But Citizens United fucked elections permanently because now the Democrats and the Republicans all have the same benefactors. Like, the same people are paying them. And this is one part of voter apathy that I understand. And I have this conversation with my normie friends all the time. They're like, both parties are corrupt. Like, what's the fucking point? And it's like, I understand. Listen, you're correct. You are definitely correct. But you have to understand that there is more potential for good on the Democratic Party than there is the Republican Party, especially now with the direction that the Republican Party is trending in.
Yeah, it's a very, I think that what the Democrats failed in doing is not putting the autopsy on a correct autopsy on their and we need a third party, and we don't have one yet. One day we'll get one. Other countries have multiple parties, so I don't understand what's America's problem. Whatever. It's just it's just really, really depressing when you think about it, because it's like these guys on the Democratic side, it's so bad for the Trump people. Like, all they gotta do is say it's because of not Trump. And they did that last time, and then they dropped the ball. And then it's like wanting to just bring them backstairs and backstage and just smack them around. Get it together. Get it together. Stop. Like, you had the ball, and then you do this with Biden. Um, I don't know. I don't know what the future will hold. I know that they will never put someone in far left. That's because Bernie is just the most. I mean, besides the squad, of course they still vote for wars and stuff like that, but you don't get anyone more far left to even reach where they're at as well. They're scared. They just want corporatism.
Mm-hmm.
Hakeem Jeffries, all that stuff. They just want corporatism. And it's just like, the people don't want that. The polls keep showing you. The people don't want that. So there has to be an autopsy at some point. They have to acknowledge this. And they're not. But I hope that there is something that comes out of this where a lot of our cities get more progressive and leftist people. We got like Shaba Shawant, who's running for senator and stuff like that. There's we could do it probably from the little, and then also fight on the streets, fight electorally, fight on the streets, do all fronts.
Mm-hmm.
All fronts. It's going to take a lot. Because the hand has been shown of what era of America we're in, and they're not winning. But the richer is getting richer. We got the biggest tax cut ever. Yeah. Final thoughts before we close. Thank you so much for coming on, Zach Does Politics, because this is a really, really good show. And we'll love to have you back on. You're in New England, so maybe we could be in person one day. Not New England. You're in Long Island. I'm in New England. I'm in Connecticut.
That's
So
very contentious in the Northeast. New York is no one really knows what New York is because it's not New England. It's like kind of the Mid-Atlantic, but not really. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased, but I feel like New York is its own like geographical fixture, mostly because of just like how big it is. Very much like how when you think of the South, you don't think of Florida. Like you think of Florida as its own entity. But enough about New York because listen, I have beef. I have beef with the state of New York on various. Just to piggyback off of what you said, I don't stress myself out anymore as I've gotten older. I've taken self care very seriously, and part of that is, and this is going to sound cliche, is to take every day for what it is. Like wake up, deal with that day. Don't deal with tomorrow. Today, deal with tomorrow. Tomorrow. And you can apply this same framework to politics, whether that be covering the news, whether that be organizing, but I do want to fixate on organizing. The socialist revolution that I hope for is not going to happen next year. It's not going to happen in 2 years. It's probably not even going to happen in 3 years. I think that we are still 4 years away from there being a serious far left progressive branch of the Democratic Party. I don't say that to be defeatist. I say that to be realistic. I also say that as a way to maybe set a goal for the DSA, people who are progressive and aligned with the DSA, worry about elections in your community. You don't have to run for Senate as a socialist. You can run for town council. You can run to be highway superintendent. You can run to be the representative of your district. Focus on impacting your community first, because if there are enough small communities impacted, those add up, and you have whole states being impacted, or even sections of states, whether that be Long Island, whether that be Southern California, whether that be like the Texas Triangle, Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. And then once you have some sort of a national profile, you will be able to make actual change. The inspiration for this plan comes from Zoran Mamdani and the New York City DSA. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Chi Osei was looking to primary Hakeem Jeffries next year. This was a noteworthy news story because the framing of it was that Zoran endorsed Hakeem Jeffries, and I talked about this on my channel.
Yeah, they talked about that. Yeah,
There was great reporting from a local, I think it's Gotham City and State, a local publication that explained how Zoran, the DSA, and AOC reached this conclusion by way of the democratic process. The DSA actually voted on whether or not Chi Osei should primary Hakeem Jeffries, and they voted no because
they did.
they believe their resources are better spent implementing Zoran's agenda than running a race against quite possibly the most well-funded Democrat in the House and the most powerful Democrat in the House. The rationale, at least what I glean from this situation, is that if the DSA and Zoran implements his agenda, not even the whole thing, like a few things, right? The tax plan, free buses. If they're able to implement that and show that it's successful, it is going to be infinitely easier for people like Zoran and candidates inspired by him to win their local elections. When you have scarce resources, it is about how effectively you can implement them. And wherever you're able to implement that change, that's where you should direct your energy. And it is most likely going to seem very small at first, right? You're most likely going to feel like, why am I doing this? Like, I should just run for president. It's like, no, relax. Start small. Build community within your community. And then set incrementally bigger goals so that way the movement actually builds a grassroots foundation and you're able to impact real change later on.
And Shama Shinwan also is a great example of that. In Portland, was able to, as city council, pass 20 an hour minimum wage. She did a lot of great things for Portland. So that is very, 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 very important to understand that. Which is why I always say, pay attention to your local elections.
Mm-hmm.
Try to run if you want to, organize if you want to, volunteer if you want to, whatever you can do. Talk about people that no one talks about. You know what I mean? We ran a guy with my people. We ran a guy, Peter Gosselin, for Attorney General. And he got thousands, almost I bet more than 8,000 votes in Connecticut. He was in there with the Republicans and the Democrats, and it was so crazy that the Democrats reached out to us and said that we were still in their votes. Can you imagine, Dems? Like, y'all make me mad.
Tell me the Democratic Party is not being accountable? I think you're lying to me. That doesn't sound like the Democratic Party.
But no, it was effective, and people were starting to demand more because they saw that this guy was like, "Oh, well, if he's doing it, and you say you're for it, then why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it?" Well,
exactly.
William Tong, looking at you, William Tong. But actually, William Tong is a pretty cool guy, though. I would say that when I met him, he was not asshole, and he was very respectful, nice. He even welcomed us to the debate because the Republican didn't want to debate Peter Gosselin. He actually got a space for us in UConn, and we had Peter Gosselin debate him there. So shouts out to you, William Tong. You're all right, guy. All right. Anyway, thank you so much, Zach, for coming on, my brother. This was really, really good. About the time this comes out will be Wednesday. So people, make sure you have a really good day. Make sure that, you take care of each other. Check in on your people, man. There's a lot going on. It's very, very important that we build community and we stay with our community because we got to take care of ourselves. Zach, you have any last words before we head off, my guy?
No, I just want to thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, take care of your people. Look out for your friends. Please go outside. Please go outside. I know it's cold. Listen, it's cold right now, so I understand that you can't be outside for an hour a day. But when you wake up, take a walk around the block, listen to the birds. It's corny, yeah, but I'm telling you, those little mental breaks, especially if you're tapped into politics like we are, they're necessary. But
yep.
I just want to thank you once again for having me. I hope we do this again.
Definitely.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Zach Does Politics. Please make sure you go watch him on YouTube. And don't forget, donate to Power Relief as well, too. Power Crisis Relief on Instagram. So everybody have a really good night. Good day. Thank you, Zach.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?